And welcome back to more of Slice of Sci-Fi. I'm Michael Ermenengay.
And I'm Brian Brown. And today, folks, we're continuing with our coverage of Grimm. Today, we're talking with Bitsie Tulloch. Now, Bitsie plays Juliet, who is the main character's love interest, girlfriend, fiance, who knows, and more, maybe more. Welcome to the show, Bitsie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we're talking to a lot of the folks from Grimm because it's one of our favorite shows for one thing, and your character is really kind of almost a fish out of water, but you're gonna get kind of inducted into all the grimness here, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
Yes, it's true. We're in the middle of shooting episode 18 right now, and I'm starting to sort of be. I've been brought into the fray. I won't answer whether or not I've actually been told yet or in what capacity I'm getting involved in the stories, but I'm definitely, having more and more exposure to all the crimes and all the weird crap that's going on.
Well, you're gonna anyways.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the 6 series regulars, not only am I the only female, but I'm also the only character that's not a cop or a detective and not a monster. So I've always really enjoyed sort of playing the angle of what it would be like if this was happening to any one of us.
Right.
The idea that one of the cool things about Grimm is that it is sort of this, crazy imagination, but as opposed to, maybe some other kinds of sci-fi or fantasy shows, it all takes place in one world. So there's a little bit more of that element where it feels like it could be an alternative possible world.
Well, and honestly, the show really shows not only the dark nature of human beings, but it shows them through, of course, Grimm's fairy tales, and so which then they themselves were, of course, morality tales. So I mean, it's just kind of follows that scope.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the original Grimm fairy tales, and part of our show is directly on some of the Grimm tales, and of which there are 211 tales and 585 legends. So there's this huge wealth of material from which we can pull, but any fairy tale is fair game. They will eventually probably branch out a little bit. And then, there might even be an episode or two where it's based more on like a theme, such as, the idea of a quest or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the Grimm tales in particular are really cool because if you read the original ones, they were all really dark and foreboding and scary and gruesome, and then everybody's sort of used to the, what's like a PC way of saying this? Like the children's version.
Right, yeah, they make them...
The children's version of the fairy tales, which are, always have happy endings and stuff, and most of the actual tales that they documented, 2 centuries ago did not have happy endings.
No, they didn't. It brings up an interesting question, I guess. Were you ever exposed to the original, the dark material before you started the show, or were you did you only know
the
of
Disney version,
the happy-go-lucky versions?
I had sort of heard, I guess, over, because one of my majors in college was literature, so I definitely heard, the Cinderella story, which is where the evil stepsisters end up having their eyes pecked out by crows, and the Pied Piper, and all the kids are dying on that. And so I'd heard of them, but I hadn't actually read until I booked the show. I hadn't really done research about the Brothers Grimm, and I hadn't really read any of the original ones until I got the show. And then I was just so fascinated because I thought, what an amazing idea for a show where, they're using tales that are public domain that, that we're allowed to use. I couldn't believe that nobody had really done it the way we're doing it before, because I just thought it was like, what an awesome, intriguing idea. And I started, being a little bit of a nerd, which I am. I started doing all this research and was finding, like, really fascinating stuff on the Grimm fairy tales. Like, there was a PhD paper that I read, somebody's PhD paper about how the Brothers Grimm were sort of like the forefathers of forensic psychology, which I thought was a fascinating angle.
Wow.
So I would, shoot off emails to Jim and David Greenwald and be like, "Oh, did you guys know this? I just found out this." And half the time they were like, "No, that's so awesome."
Wow. So basically, you kind of give them a little more oomph in the writer's room as well, then, kind of going.
Oh no, I definitely don't. I definitely don't. This was all. The writers are amazing, and but this was all in the very beginning when we were shooting the pilot, and I was just, up in Portland shooting the pilot and was getting all excited and spending hours Googling the Brothers Grimm and stuff like that.
It's interesting because I always like to ask the people who are portraying these characters, how much influence do you have on the writers as far as, interjecting and saying, hey, I think my character would do this, I think my character would do that, and how much of that do they actually take and listen to?
I haven't really, they've been writing such great stuff for us that I don't really know that anybody's really had that conversation with them other than, every so often if you're having a few episodes in a row where it's not completely delineated where you're going, I might shoot them a call and just say, so what's the end goal here? And sometimes they know and sometimes they don't, but otherwise, anytime I've called and asked, it's maybe every so often a very minor detail like a line that's not rolling off the tongue. And when I'm like preparing it, and I'll just say, hey, can I just say this instead of this? And it's usually just switching a couple words around. But especially in television, you want to be careful and get everything approved. But they, our writers are fantastic, and I really do feel very, very lucky because Jim and David Greenwald are two of the smartest, most charismatic, nicest guys, probably working in Hollywood, and it's just great to have them as our bosses.
That's really cool. And occasionally you just throw in, when you're talking to the writers, please don't kill my character.
Yeah.
Right? That sort of thing?
What? I'm sorry?
You say, please don't kill my character, please. I kind of want to do this gig for a while.
Oh, no, I'm not even putting that out there. They better not.
Yeah. Oh, because...
No, but it's fun because, the fans are really starting to, I'm on Twitter. My handle's just Bitsie Tulloch, my name, and the fans are like, I'm starting to think you're a creature. I think you're a monster. Can you tell me? I'm like, of course I can't tell you.
Exactly.
I'm going to give it, no. You're just going to have to keep watching. But it's funny that, the more the show's going on, the more of a personality Juliet is getting. And I think it's been kind of cool for the fans to watch and sort of try to figure out where they're going with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say, where we're at kind of right now is that Juliet's finally getting the idea that, maybe Nick is, not exactly being honest with me where he's going out late at night.
I know.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. And she's kind of putting it together, and I think it's really interesting how the character's grown to actually be, you kind of can see the makings of, she'd be a very good partner in this grimness with Nick.
Yeah, and especially, in the pilot episode, they had written me as a baker. And it was funny because as soon as I booked the pilot, knowing that Jim and David had come from, like, Buffy and Angel, I hired a trainer and started working out 5 days a week as a trainer, and I put on something like 15 pounds of muscle. Because I was thinking I was going to be able to, like, kick some butt. Then I get up to Portland, and they're like, well, you're a baker. And I was like, yeah, I know, but... can't I, like, throw muffins at people or something? Like, that ain't something I could do. And they're like, well, maybe down the road, weirdo. And then they ended up changing it when we got the first 13 episode pickup. They switched to a veterinarian, which will undoubtedly, one would imagine would start coming into play.
Yeah, you come into contact with these human animal thingies, and plus you could, stitch up Nick's head every now and then.
Yeah, that's always handy. It's a good skill to have.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so what else are you going to be working on? We know you're still filming on Grimm, but when that break comes, do you have anything going on for yourself?
Well, I actually have a pretty nice supporting role in The Artist, which just won Best Picture a couple days ago. So I was in LA for all the Academy Awards stuff.
Very nice.
So that's very exciting. And my first starring role in a feature is premiering at Oh wait, I can't say that.
Nope. Never mind then, folks.
Never
You're
mind.
gonna have to scratch that. Okay, let me start it again. And my first starring role in a feature is premiering at a fairly major film festival.
There you go.
Soon. And the interesting thing about that festival and that film in particular is that David Gentoli was actually cast as my boyfriend in that movie.
Wow.
And so he and I had shot a movie together about 6 months prior to auditioning for Grimm together. So the chemistry was already there because we'd already worked together, and we're always joking about how we need to just get little headshots made of the two of us, like, for your consideration as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Perfect for any role.
There that's working.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. Well, Bitsie, we're all out of time right now, but thank you very much for talking with us today.
Totally.
All right, folks, there you go. Bitsie Tulloch. She is Juliet Silverton on Grimm. Check it out. It is awesome. All right, folks, we'll be back with more Slice of Sci-Fi right after this.